Good afternoon. Today is May 3rd, 2016. My name is Nikki, and I'm here at the falls at Cordingly Dam with Don Laliberte.
Laliberte.
Butchered it a little bit.
Yeah. Laliberte. Correct.
Laliberte. And together we are participating in the Newton Talks Oral History Project that is being conducted with the Newton Free Library, Historic Newton, and the Newton Senior Center. So Don, what were you doing before you entered the service, or what was like for you before you entered the service?
Well, before I entered the service, I was just graduated from high school, and I come from a very large family. There's 8 of us. 2 brothers that were in the Marine Corps before I went into the service. One was stationed in Cuba, the other one was stationed in Vietnam itself. So again, I get the little notice in the mail from Uncle Sam saying, "We want you." Draft notice, which they don't have that today. So I was hesitating, what am I going to do? Go in for a couple years in the service, being drafted, or join the Air Force? I said, well, maybe I'm better on the ground to try to fly a plane. So I got drafted, went into the service, went down to Fort Dix, New Jersey, where you have your AIT training. Then from there, I went out to Fort Lennonwood, Missouri. I had more training. Then I got a one-way ticket to a country called Vietnam. Okay, now we have to remember Vietnam started back in 1954 with American advisors. Okay, that President Eisenhower sent over there at that time, and it ended in 1975. So it was a 20-year hitch that we fought that conflict. It was never declared a war, but it was declare a conflict. So during that, again, I was a young guy, I was married, I was hesitating what to do. Again, I had tons of cousins, to be very honest with you. They all fled off to Canada, because that's part of my nationality. So should I do that, or should I be like my other 2 brothers and fight for my country? And I decided to stick it out and fight for my country. But going back to where I was in California, Oakland, California, and I got orders to go over to Vietnam, but it took 16 weeks before they could ship me over to Vietnam. That's how many troops were being sent over there at that time. They go over to Vietnam and land into a small little village called Can Tho, which is down in the Delta in Vietnam. Which I was there, then I was flown to another small base on an island called Phu Quoc Island, which is, if you look at this map of the country of Vietnam, and you look at the very bottom, there's a little island, it's like the size of Martha's Vineyard, and that's where they had 50,000 prisoners, Viet Cong prisoners, that what they call the Army was protecting, and my job was to make sure to train the military police, the South Vietnamese military police, how to treat the Viet Cong. Well, I'm not going to get into the nitty-gritty of the whole thing. It's a different world that we live in today, thank God, because now there's laws against how you treat prisoners, and I'm glad that's there. But I was there, and it taught me a lot. I was scared. Okay, every day was a new day, so you try to not think what's going to happen down the road, what's going to happen next week. You get up in the morning, do what you have to do, and hopefully you didn't get shot at, or there weren't bombs coming in or rockets coming in, and you did what you had to do. I met a lot of good people there, which, again, we lost 58,000 Americans in that war, which I feel bad about, because they'll never come back, they'll never come home. And it just, even to this day, I feel bad about it. Again, I make a long story short, I also, I went back, and this is something I definitely have to mention. I went back 14 months ago to visit after 44 years in all the 10 different cities in town. I took 15 minutes out to say a little prayer for all the military people that we had that lost their lives, that never came home. And I feel bad for their parents, I feel bad for their families. But Vietnam was a an education that I will never forget. It's just, it's hot, dirty, dusty, rainy. You're being shot at all the time. You don't know who's shooting at you. You're ducking. You're hoping that you don't get hit we'd gone on convoys to build roads and bridges, and they'd get blown up the next day. And it's so sad. You used to have these little kids that used to come in and try to sell you water or soda on the side of the street, and there'd be a way that they would put broken glass in it so that if you drank it, it would cut the inside of your body. And every day you would lose somebody in your platoon. It's just, I don't know how I made it back. Just with the tons of letters that were sent to me from my parents and mail call that we got every day, and there was guys over there that never received 1 ounce of mail in their life. I mean, it just kept you going, kept you going, kept you going. Would I go back and do it again to fight for my country? Yes, I would. Would I advise young people to go back and do it? It's got to be a good reason to fight, get into a war and to fight, because you're giving up your life. You may not come back. We see that today in many conflicts. But I would go back. I believe in the cause that we were there for. Even though when we came home, it was a different world when we came home. Look how many years it took them to recognize the Vietnam veterans. We do have benefits coming to us. We're entitled to those benefits, which nobody wanted to let us know about the benefits. We went there because we love our country to fight in that war, even though our country really disrespected us when we came back. They kind of pushed us off to the side of the road, but we still came back. We still fought for our country, still love our country. We still volunteer a lot of services that we do.
That's great. So do you want to talk a little bit more about how you actually enlisted and why did you choose that specific branch?
Well, I was drafted, and the reason I was drafted, okay, I could have enlisted, like I said, in the Air Force, but I decided 2 years was a lot quicker than 4 years. Okay, and again, the Vietnam War was going on, so I said, well, I can be home hopefully in 2 years compared to 4 years. And that's the reason why I decided, let me get drafted and get it over and move forward, you know.
Gotcha.
So that's what made my decision to be drafted instead of enlisting to the service. Even though my 2 brothers both enlisted into the Marine Corps before me.
Right. So how did you adapt to military life, including the physical regimen, the barracks, and the food, and the social life?
It was shocking experience. I mean, you go in there and again, they right off the bat, they get in there, and I remember standing in formation. I thought I was a punky kid. I could get away with stuff, and they come down the line, you know, take your sunglasses off. They throw your sunglasses off, and then you're in a line with maybe 50, 60 guys, and you get all one type of a haircut. You didn't have your choice, you know. And it's like, you know, you get back to your barracks, and it's like 1, 2, 3, let's go. You know, let's jog around the camp 2, 3 times, okay? And then 4 o'clock in the morning, they come in, wake you up, and knock your bed over. It's time to get up again. Let's get out there, okay? Let's run some more. I think I did more running in the service than my whole life. So it was different. There was a lot of rules and rights that you have to go by, and there was a lot of stuff that they really enforce you to obey and listen. They were the boss, and you were not, and you had no choice in the matter. You go down to the mess hall, get something to eat, it looked good, you want this instead, you get what they gave you. That was it. And I see now, look back on that now, and I can see why they did it, because in combat, you have no choice. You got to do it. You got to get up, you got to move, you got to make it happen. And it trained you to be tough. It really did. And there's some guys that couldn't handle it. They just couldn't handle it, and they shipped them back home. But I figure, again, going back to 2 years is better than 4 years. But the 2 years seemed like 20 years to me at that time. So.
Yeah. So how else did you stay in touch with your family and friends?
Just letters. We didn't have text or email. It was all letters back and forth, writing a letter and putting a stamp on it and sending it home. And you know, again, in the service, you didn't have a chance to make a call and say, hey, Mom, I need new sneakers or something like that. It's all by mail, all by letters. In the military, you had a right to open up your mail and see what was going on, what was coming in too. Again, I'm going back quite a few years ago. That's when they did that. So that's how we kept in contact.
And so where exactly did you serve? You said in the village. And then also, do you remember arriving? And what was it like when you first got there?
I first left Oakland, California. We flew into Hawaii for a short stop. From there, we went on to Vietnam, landed in Vietnam to a air base called Bien Hoa Air Base, north of Saigon. Stayed there, and there must have been a good 4,000 troops that landed at the same time on different airlines. And you just wait until you get your orders to go with different base commanders to go to your base camp. We got into what they call deuce and a half, 2.5 ton truck. You pile 60 guys in the back of the truck. Then I went to a little village called Canto, which is south in the Delta in Vietnam. That was my base. Got there, you're in full uniforms, fatigues, it's 110 degrees out, carrying a backpack. You go to your base, and all the guys that's been there many years, many months before you are making fun of you. Hey, we got a newbie, you know, like this kid, you know, he'll never make it and stuff like that. And I remember getting there, getting to my bunk. My bunk was probably 2 feet wide, maybe 6 feet long, with a what they call a mosquito net over the bunk, so that mosquitoes wouldn't attack you at night. And I remember sitting there resting, and all of a sudden we got rocketed by the North Vietnamese. They were shooting at us. And that's all I saw. I woke up and I see guys. One guy grabbed me. He said, "Grab your M16, grab it, head for the bunker." And that's all I saw, guys running out the door, headed for the bunk. And we stayed there the whole night there, staying in the bunker, because we had an M60 machine gun firing back. We didn't know who we're shooting at, but we're shooting at somebody, and they were shooting at us. You could not see the Viet Cong themselves, because they always knew a way how to hide. And I think finally, like 3 o'clock in the morning, we went back to the bunk, and then 5 o'clock we were up. Come on, chow time. Go to chow. Let's get in line. So it's like, I felt like, what the heck am I doing here? You know, because I must have been nuts. I should have went on to college. I don't know why I didn't. But from that point on, then I got my assignment to go to an island called, as I said, Phu Quoc Island, a small little island off the coast of Vietnam in Cambodia. And I was there for about 6 months in that area there, trying to work with the Viet Cong and building things up and teaching them to treat the enemy a certain way. So.
Wow. So tell me about a few of your most memorable experiences.
You know, over there, I think the most to this day, I can always recall my getting the mail call at night. They would call your name out. Hey, they could not pronounce my last name, so they used to call me Frenchie. Okay. Hey, Frenchie, you got a letter from home. Oh, what's wrong? Your girlfriend's mad at you? Or make comments and stuff like that. So I would get these letters, and that's what kept me going. It really did. And I met a lot of good guys there. They were in the same boats, very scared and afraid and living day to day. And you get to be friends with them over the years. To this day, I reach out to a couple of them that came back too. So these are the things that I recall from that conflict. And again, and to see the little kids suffering so much. There's so many little kids over there that, I mean, they had nothing. They lost their parents. They lost everything they had. And they just opened up to you and broke your heart, because you would steal food from the mess hall to give the kids some food to eat, okay? Or else you take your shirt off, cut it down so they had a shirt to wear, you know? It's just things like that you will never forget.
Yeah. Do you recall any particular humorous or unusual events?
Humor. It's just everybody they're there, and again, day to day, and you all joke around, kid around, and laugh about this and laugh about that, and you know, and it was always, that was your family, okay? And you were bonding with your family, getting to know your family, and this one would tell a joke, and that would tell a joke, or somebody would say, "Oh, I come from the West Coast down in the Dakotas," or some darn thing, and this is what we do back there, and we used to make fun of him. "Oh, you're a farmer. What the heck do you know?" You know, and stuff like that. So we're always kidding around with each other and joking around, and that, again, that got us to survive what we had to go through.
Yeah. Do you recall the day that your service ended?
Yes, I do. I do. I recall the day where they came in, my orders came in. I thought I was going to be extended, okay, due to the fact my MOS was combat engineers, but they didn't, and they gave me an order to go home. It was December 14th, I believe, 1971. Went home, got on a flight. We got on a plane. We had different airlines. I think Delta Airlines or American Airlines was one of the carriers that brought troops back and forth. We got on a plane. There was a bunch of us, and we just cheered when that plane took off and out of the skies of Vietnam, and then we flew up into Alaska. I only had my fatigues on. It was like 20 degrees, freezing, but we were at the airport. Then back down to the West Coast, down to Oakland Army Base, where we got transferred, got closed, got cleaned up and everything. And I still had a little bit of time left to do in the service, and then they sent me home for 30 days. And I tell you, it was very hard to just stay home, but I did what I had to do.
So what was it like to return to civilian life then?
It was nice. My parents welcomed me very much. My brothers completely understood. I was very upset with my cousins that all fled off to Canada due to the fact that we had a draft going on. A lot of people did not want to hear about it. It was a conflict. It was a political war that, you know, they felt it was the politicians' fault. And of course, there was a lot of bad press with the Vietnam, with the soldiers being over there. With again, Lieutenant Kelly was given in the news at that time, where they claimed he went through a village and slaughtered homeless kids and everything else. So it was a lot of bad press, and a lot of people didn't want to hear your story, didn't want nothing to do with you. I went to sign up for the VFW club, and the veterans there, who were Korean veterans and World War II veterans, didn't want anything to do with you. They didn't they felt that, you know, you didn't fight in a war, it was a conflict. And so it was heartbreaking. Is that you got no respect, none at all. And again, you can apply for a job. Oh, you can't apply for here. You're better off to become a police officer, because that's all you guys did was learn how to kill, which was nonsense. So it was heartbreaking. It really was. It was very, very disappointed, and I really felt very disappointed for so many years towards the government and towards the veterans agent in the VA. So I felt that way for a long time.
So how did your service and experience affect your life or your outlook on war and the military, just in general?
Well, my outlook on war, I don't think we should go into any war, any conflict, unless we really know exactly what we're doing. I mean, I don't want to see another 58,000 young people die. You got to have a good reason before you go on to war. You got to make sure that you do all you can as far as sitting out at a table, round table, talking and trying to resolve the issue before you send that young person out there to get killed. That's exactly what you're doing. And that's a very tough job, because that's a tough job for any president to go through, knowing that he should send troops where, again, their blood will be on his back, on his hands. The veterans thing, again, it wasn't till quite a few years later that I finally got more involved with the veterans and helping other veterans like I do now.
So is there anything else that you just want to tell us?
Well, I just say, again, it's sad, because I do volunteer my time down to the VA hospital in Brockton. Okay, again, you see so many young people that's there that come back from the different conflicts that we have now. You know that they're never going to get out, because there's so many issues, medical issues, that they can't. I look at it, and I thank God I had a wonderful family that supported me. My wife was terrific, supported me 100%. I came back. I'm considered 100% disabled, because I am affected by Agent Orange, which hopefully I hope I live for another 100 years, but I know deep down inside there's a time limit I'm playing with. And I'm out there. I'm the president of a club called AMVETS, which is American Veterans, And I make sure that our veterans get the services they want, or the help they want, or any paperwork that we can do for them to get the benefits that they need. And again, I do a lot of volunteer work with the Brockton VA hospital, and I feel, I don't get a dime for all this, but I feel good spending 25, 30 hours a week giving back my services to the veterans, because they will never, 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 any Vietnam veteran that you speak to, they will never, never allow any other veterans to go through what we went through. They are going to be respected for the service that they have done.
Well, thank you so much. It looks like our time is just about up. So thank you so much for taking the time to do this with us. We're really happy to be able to include you in the Newton Talks Oral History Project.
And I thank you, and I really think it's a wonderful thing that these young people come out and interview us veterans to really understand what the war was all about. Again, I want to thank you personally. Thank you.
Well, of course. It was wonderful to listen to you.
Well, that was easy.
Wonderful. That was wonderful.
Great job.